DEI stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion, and it is a term that represents the policies, programs, and procedures that you implement for the goals of representation and participation amongst the diverse groups of your employee, staff, and community. We are seeing a record number of talent, Gen Z, millennials, all young professionals looking to make inroads in the IT, space, medical, healthcare, and financial markets. When you look at the diverse members of young, aspiring talent, it's important to make sure that your representation from leadership and programs represent DEI. Companies with an inclusive culture are shown to hit their revenue goals 6 times more likely than organizations with a more traditional, standard community. A recent study by Deloitte has said that companies with a diverse culture are 3 times more likely to hit financial goals than other companies without those same perspectives. We're seeing a financial, social, and societal impact. So when you look at DEI, look at your company and how inclusion can play a role in it today. According to a recent study by the Human Capital Institute, 79% of CEOs say that diversity, equity, and inclusion is a top priority within their company. Despite this overwhelming results, 13% say that they're currently prepared to enact inclusive strategies that reflect DEI. There is a common misconception that to believe in DEI is enough. When you create procedures, policies, and proactive plans, whether it's surveying, engaging with your team, and creating employee resource groups, you're creating an intentional space where people of all walks of life feel comfortable being themselves. Psychologists state that the most productive employee is one that feels the most comfortable in his or her skin. As we look at the rising tide of a millennial, Gen Z, and overall workforce, it's important to create those intentional spaces where employees feel heard, represented, and feel committed to the vision of the organization. A main problem companies are looking at is how do we quantify DEI? It's amazing to create traditional programming, trainings, and employee resource groups, but how do you ensure that your DEI policies are measurable and actionable? There are common tools that do that well: Canaris, Talk to Spot, Humus.ai. Our mission at Mindstand is to make DEI a measurable goal on your list. At Mindstand, we look at the data that makes you you, how you communicate and converse with one another. By integrating within your common workplace platforms, Slack, Microsoft Teams, G Suite, we're able to create beautiful insights towards what inclusion looks like and what are some tangible steps towards getting there. Understanding things like what is the women communication and conversations surrounding marketing? What does it look like for burnout within your organization? And how can we make recommendations towards PTO? The first step towards creating a diverse, equitable, and inclusive environment is awareness. Organizations that aren't aware of their culture or the inclusiveness of it are susceptible to a lost productivity, toxic culture, and lawsuits. The average employee harassment lawsuit costs organizations on average $125,000 and lasts over 291 days. HR experts say employee turnover costs on average 6 months to 1 year of the past employee's full salary. To train, engage, and prepare an employee to fit their new role costs money, time, and effort. To ensure that DEI is a tangible goal in your high-growth business, it's essential to ensure that DEI policies and protocol are implemented into your KPIs, starting with awareness. In order to create an effective DEI policy and program, you must start with awareness, move to measurement, and create action. And in order to measure, it's important to bring everyone to the table. Create an employee resource group, create a Slack channel, or schedule an all-hands meeting where you can bring every member of your organization to the table and ask them, what does it feel like on a day-to-day basis to work in our organization? When you feel unincluded or you feel cast away, who do you feel is the best resource for you to speak towards? By creating these very measured, very dedicated questions, you're pulling the best information to understand what it's like to work in your organization.